Yeah, everybody, I'm sorry. I did a video on this before, and something happened that didn't post. Probably my fault. So I'm going to do this again, and I hope more people tune in. But if you already did tune in, this is a replay of the last one. We all know that TW Local 100 has proposed a new contract, and the executive board had put it out for ratification to the membership. This is a very divisive contract, as you're well aware. It pits members against members from all divisions. That divisiveness is being sanctioned by the union leadership, as seen by the actions and statements of our union reps. They're trying to vilify the e-board members who voted no through character assassination. This guilt tactic is the exact opposite of how trade unionism is supposed to behave. Democracy is being replaced by inquisition, threats, and intimidation. This is what happens when the leadership tries to sell a divisional sweeteners over a paltry wage increase. They say, how can you vote against our tick pay? Or how can you vote against sick leave cash out, etc.? These are good things. However, you're voting for the whole package, not individual gains. This is where divisiveness comes in. And it's intentional. Divide and conquer. Without a solid wage gain, divisional tribalism takes over. It's human nature. Everyone needs to step back a minute and take a breath. We refuse to succumb to fighting each other for crumbs thrown to the floor for the amusement of our leadership. Why am I recommending a no vote on this contract? We're voting against bad wages, yes, but we're also opposed to the givebacks of the last contract that still strangle the economic health of our new members. Tier 6, 5+ years to top pay. Our members still are financing the last contract, and they're financing this contract, and the new members will be financing the last contract. That's what I spoke about when I talked about cannibalistic bargaining. It's you eat the new people, but you keep eating them. Every new person that's hired, he gets eaten by the membership at large, and this is not something that trade unionists do. Let's not forget that. As trade unionists, let's not forget that. The massive disciplinary machine was not addressed in this contract at all, so our members are still under the thumb of labor relations, affecting our ability to feel confident in our employment and our ability to promote. 16,000 write-ups. No workforce is that screwed up. Okay, this is intentional. This is intentional to make everybody fear for their jobs, so this way nobody steps up and nobody says anything. Now, the union leadership and management are in collusion on this. The more discipline there is, the more release time there is. The more jobs union reps have to do. So our members are actually being eaten by this system, this huge system that that machine that eats at the membership for its own benefit, and we're in collusion with that. And it's no surprise that they didn't go after this. But this is something that's huge. Discipline has to be reeled back. And of course, this contract that we're in now, and why couldn't the leadership get better raises, and why are they only selling it with sweeteners and a bad wage package, is all due to a lack of preparation, mobilization, organization, information. Our lazy, incompetent leadership failed to do that. And when this contract is said and done, all we'll be left with is the hangover of when we realize we voted for another sellout contract. This is something that our membership needs to remember. The last contract, everybody voted for it, and they wanted their retro pay, and their retro pay was probably going to pay some bills, and it was going to catch them all up and all that. And then when they saw when the government took out and how much money they lost, then they realized, oh well, the union sold us another lemon, so they're selling another lemon right now. Now I wanted to talk about the Me Too clause. Me Too clause, I read up on it. It has advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages of a Me Too clause is that anything that you could negotiate economically, the next bargaining unit, it has to be taken into consideration how much you can get compared to how much now they want to offer them. If I was a brother in our railroad divisions, I would be like the Long Island Railroad. I'd be very upset that they were included in a Me Too clause in our contract, because that the governor is going to be hell bent in those negotiations to not offer them anything better than we got. If I were them, I would reject to this. But not only that, the Me Too clause itself is flawed in that it doesn't guarantee the you'll get what they get. All it guarantees is that you'll reopen the contract. So if you're not mobilized and organized to gain leverage at the table, then that reopening and renegotiation really doesn't do anything. What we were calling for was parity. Parity is is what would have brought us together with our brothers and sisters in the railroad, and not Me Too. Because even if the railroad were to accept 2.5 over 28 months, they would wind up still pulling ahead because they make more than we do, and so their 2.5 is higher than our 2.5. So there's no Me Too there. What we wanted was parity. We wanted parity with the same people that do the same job as us, only on a smaller scale with regard to passengers. We move the most passengers. I know that as far as like conductors go, we don't collect fares, but there is a lot more to the job than that. There is dealing with the public. There's still the assaults. There's still plenty of extras besides opening and closing doors, and that moves on to bus operators, train operators, and all that. So I still think that the Me Too clause is flawed, although we're still waiting for the leadership to explain it. So we'll wait on that one. But just coming from me, without a guarantee in getting better wages or equal wages to the next person gets, it's not all that. Now, articulated bus pay. I'm glad the articulated bus operators are getting more money. They deserve it. They operate 2 buses at the same time. But just to say that it's an amazing gain because it's a 300% increase, and there you go again. These are salesman's words. What it really is a 75-cent increase. But just in comparison, the cleaners got, well, they were the lead cleaners in stations and car equipment were getting $1.70 premium for a lot of years for supervising the wet workers, and the wet program is now done. It's terminated. So the cleaners are now going to have to pick back into cleaner jobs without that $1.70, and now that money was transferred into the articulated bus pay. However, not all of it was, just $1 or 75 cents worth. So you see that the bus operators are getting paid $1 more to drive 2 buses at the same time, whereas cleaners were getting $1.70 to supervise wet workers. So we're still getting nickeled and dimed on everything. Now, even just to say that, a lot of what we're getting, it's coming in 2018. Any other economic benefit is coming in 2018. That's ridiculous too. Our contract starts 2017. It doesn't start 2018. And for the leadership now, they've put out a highlight page. They haven't put out a contract that we can refer to. It's one solid booklet. We'll probably get that in the mail with the big vote yes on the front. But I think that what we need to do is, talk about what we do know. Try to get our members to understand that, the divisiveness over this contract, over arguing over sweeteners, is kind of like you're crawling through the desert and you're thirsty, and someone hands you a shot glass of dirty water, and you think it's the greatest water in the world, and you drink it. This is kind of like what we're going through right now. Everybody was crawling through the desert. Everybody was thirsty. And they offered this up, and now everyone's going crazy over it, scrambling around on the floor trying to grab pieces. And this isn't trade unionism. This is divisiveness, and this is going to go with us well past this contract. And we're going to have to get this thing straightened out. We wanted to talk about other things in the contract, but we're waiting to see what comes out. We know that the leadership is going around to the articulated bus depots selling the contract, probably selling that 75 cents. And, in the end, everybody, not everybody's going to be able to drive an articulated bus. Every other division is out there, and I spoke about this in a prior video, that, this is affecting our ability to retire. And not just people that are going out now, but young people. We are trying to make a better retirement through, wage earnings, and it starts with base pay. And then it moves into overtime and moves into run pay, and then it moves into premium pay. But, the foundation of being able to retire is your base pay. Now, even young members, let's say you're here 3 years, this negatively impacts your ability to retire down the road, because this is the give back that keeps on giving. This is taking away your purchasing power now, but it's also taking away your ability to comfortably retire in the future. Now, Tier 6 members know exactly what that's about, because their pension is inferior anyway. But going back even before then, to let's say members who have 10 years on the job, you'll see that, okay, for 3 years you had good increases, then the next 7, they'll be horrible, and they'll knock you backwards on your heels. And this is one of the things that we're arguing about and fighting about. The authority, has massive ridership increases. I don't know why, we would take a 2.14 as it's averaged out over the length of 28 months. It's not 2.5. That would be for a 2-year contract. It's a 28-month contract. That this 2.1 is being sold at 2.5, and it's a 28-month contract. So what we're looking at is probably a 0.9. Let's just say a 2% decrease in the cost of living. What we really need to get. So the leadership will be selling this at a 1.7% inflation. That it beats that 1.7% inflation, and that might be true. Inflation might be 1.7, but that's only one aspect of the entire scope of cost of living, and we all know that. You go to the grocery store, everything's going up. The only thing that's not going up is your pay, and your pay can't cover, those things or school expenses. Automobile expenses, vacation expenses. You're being dragged backwards. And then for those titles that have the ability to augment their income through constant overtime, they can take overtime at will, or they can pick longer runs. You become a slave to the job. Your base pay no longer has you able to afford to live in the city, or even in the metropolitan area for that matter. So this is something that's really knocking us back. Anyway, I'd like to congratulate the tiers. Listen to me. I'd like to congratulate the 6 e-board members who stood up for their members and voted no, based on the reasons I just gave you. They're very brave. We've been taking a major hit in character assassination. I've been called every name in the book. If you go to George Carlin's video and he tells you the 7 dirty words, they thought up a few more too, and including scab. They threw scab in there now. We're all scabs too. But all they're really trying to do is kill the messenger, because they can't kill the message. And we try to, we're going to need everybody's help out there to educate. When you look at progressive action, or you look at the videos that Jamel does, I do, Jocelyn does, and then give the information to the members and let them know that this is ridiculous. We deserve much better than this. Yeah, we all know it, but we get caught up in a frenzy of cognitive bias. It's don't let the bias word fool you. Cognitive bias is a way that we convince ourselves that what we're looking at is good. The way we convince ourselves to not look at the truth. The way we convince ourselves that we're smarter than the next person. So therefore we have a good beat on things. And anybody that wants to look up cognitive bias, you'll see what I'm talking about. We become our own worst salesman. And that's something that we're suffering through right now, especially when a contract is being sold. So again, I'd like to congratulate those e-board members, and as members, please go up to them and thank them for standing up, because it's not easy, and it's not easy to be in a room with such hostility. Even when I went to the Union Hall Tuesday, they wouldn't let me in, and I wasn't the only one. They wouldn't let anybody in. And of course we were accosted upstairs when we tried to get on the 9th floor to see our reps, but and we weren't there for any malicious reason. We were there as members who were paying for a Union Hall, and we weren't allowed in there. And it wasn't, not that I want to go into the executive board meeting. I know I don't belong in there, but we have lobbies and we have other places for members to go. It is our Union Hall, supposed to be anyway. and we are paying the bills. And I've never seen so much animosity, so much hatred towards the people that are paying your salaries. You know, as reps, we're paying your salaries, but you're coming after us. And that's something that we can't, we can't tolerate anymore. So right now, I'm just asking everybody to spread the word. Try to get everybody on Progressive Action. Talk about Transport Workers United, and let's see if we can't put this contract at least show enough force where it's not a blowout, that the leadership gets the message. Okay, so I see a question. Lee, why wasn't this contract 2 years only? Well, one of the major concessions was to move the contract out of the winter into the spring, which completely destroys our ability to have the public take us seriously. Little history: in 1980, Ed Koch was the mayor. I was a teenager, and I wanted to go to the Met game, and I couldn't go to the Met game because there was no trains running, and the weather was beautiful. The strike was in April, and it was 11 days. And that fashion statement where the women wear sneakers with their dresses, that started during that strike. That was publicity photos of Ed Koch saying, "How am I doing?" and people coming down off the Brooklyn Bridge with their dresses and their sneakers, and showing that, the strike will not, hamper people from getting to work and stop business. So we put ourselves right back into that position, which is so stupid. But even when the booklet comes out and it says vote yes, no concessions, no givebacks, moving the contract out of January and into May is a giveback. And of course, the 4 free months, and we won't talk about the $500. That's nothing. By the time the government and everybody gets through with it, it'll be nothing left. The previous video I tried to put out, I said that you can't take a family afford an Olive Garden with what's going to be left of that $500. That doesn't count as money. So basically, they're getting 4 months free out of us. That's why we recalculated the 2.5 and 2.5 into 2.14 and 2.14, because that's exactly what it is. So anyway, I'm looking here. So, I mean, I don't know how many places they're going to go. I don't know if they're going to try to ram the contract down our throats, or they're going to go into town hall mode. And what I mean by that is when you see that the members are soft on the contract, you start going out into places to explain it. But you're really not explaining it. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's not something that if they put it out right, in the right wording, anybody could really understand what it is. But they're going out to sell it, and they're going to sell it using words like vastly, substantially, big bully words, salesman words, but they're not going to really tell you the truth onto what it is, like this phony Me Too clause, or the to tell you that the RTIC pay should have been a lot more, and it could have been a lot more. Members deserved a lot more. I mean, this was supposed to be the money contract, but I don't see the money. Another thing is the sick leave cash out, and that's, like I said, that's good too. But that's your own money. You're gonna actually you're being allowed to cash out. Now, I'm not talking about the retirement cash out. I'm talking about there's, I think, one division has a cash out of 6 days, and it's you really don't want to cash out your own insurance. And when you do that, again, it comes back as a bonus, and you're only going to get half. So even if you left it in there, you're still going to get half when you cash out at the end when you retire. The sick leave is probably the best insurance policy you have against illness or injury off the job. And, of course, to help bridge the time period if you have to go out on comp. So I wouldn't touch sick. At the end, yes, I would push to have it, you get the full balance. But that's pretty much it. Yes, Ron, you're right. If the contract was good, they wouldn't have to sell it. It would sell itself. Absolutely. And again, like I said before, the wage increases on the top, a good foundation of wage package, right, will not have people squabbling over divisional gains. And I'm very happy that MTA bus maintenance, has a half an hour knocked back because they were working 8.5 hours. One of the half hours was without pay. That was their lunch period. And I'm glad that happened. I'm glad it got knocked back. But it's not a reason to get a contract passed if wages is your issue. And wages is everybody's issue. After the last 5 years, we got killed. This contract needed to be wages. So I'm going to be even asking them, don't listen to the hype. Don't listen to the people calling everybody morons and scabs, especially coming from the union reps, because that's all it's really coming from. This is something that we should all be on the same page about. Okay, Bunny, what recourse do you have if and when the contract is voted down? Okay, I'm glad that was asked. If a contract is voted down, you're sending your negotiating team back to the table. It doesn't mean that everything's off the table. I mean, of course, management can start to talk about some of the things that you had agreed upon, because when you go back to the table, you still, because the contract was not settled. It wasn't settled by the members, so the contract is still open. It's not ratified. But as the leadership, you're going back there to talk about the wages. So listen to us. Listen to us. We want the MTA to go back, to go with the leadership to Albany, to turn back Tier 6. We want that new member 5+ top pay thing knocked back. We don't want our new members paying for our contract. We don't want to take food out of the mouths of our children. And I don't want to, say this too many times during this video, but this is cannibalistic bargaining at its finest, the exact opposite of industrial unionism, an exact opposite of trade unionism, both of which the TWU is supposed to be. So now when they go back and they renegotiate the contract, they'll want to keep the RTIC pay, they'll want to keep all the other things, the MTA bus maintainers provision, but we want to get paid for the 4 months. If you're going to extend the contract 4 months, we don't want a bonus. We want to be paid, and we want the wage package increased. And of course, arbitration is based on preparation, and those were the 4 words that I used before. What a union needs to do going into a contract. Preparation, in the case of arbitration, would be the minutes of your negotiating sessions. And that's what makes it dangerous. And this is so bad. I'm embarrassed to actually say this. You bring the minutes of your negotiating sessions, and then, of course, the management presents their points, you present your points, and your points economically are based on actuaries. The actuary firm that you hired, who costed out, plus your research assistants at the hall that you hired to cost out, their numbers and how they came to them will be brought to the arbitrator. I don't think we did any of that. I think everything was a handshake months before. The MTA squeezed Samuelson at the end, and this is how we came out with what we came out. Arbitration only becomes dangerous without preparation. Arbitration is not dangerous if you are prepared. So I wouldn't worry too much about arbitration, but it's not there. You're not given a choice of no or arbitration. That's not the case at all. You can go back to the table and talk about this and get that $500 out of there and give us some kind of points. What's going on, Kenny? Sorry about Dallas. Actually, no, I'm not, but I'm going to tell you I'm sorry because we're friends. Anyway, sorry, that sounds messed up. Kenny, thanks for joining. Yeah, if you don't have to go to arbitration if you voted no, Bunny, that's not it. Don't let anybody tell you that. And don't let anybody tell you that because you vote no, that there's no contract and everything is gone. There's a few sticking points that we want changed. That should have been brought up at the E-Board. That's what E-Board members are for. I don't blame, our guys for voting no, even if, maybe they felt like they should have changed their minds later, simply because they weren't given a contract to look at. So, Nuke, who does the prep for arbitration? Okay, that starts way early. That starts a year before you even negotiate. That's you're preparing for the eventuality of either negotiations or arbitration back then. That's when you hire, your research assistants, and they start doing the numbers, and all your numbers are ready. And then, of course, your actuaries come in, and they present the numbers, and if the numbers are good and they're a solid foundation, you have something to stand on, then management's going to have to come back and dispute them. And if they can't dispute those numbers, then you wind up, in a gain. It's not something that, to be afraid of. But then, of course, in this situation, when the negotiations start? Late December? How many sessions were there at the main table? The main table is what counts when it comes to wages. So how many negotiation sessions were there? How did we fund this? And so that kind of preparation. And then, of course, after, if you have to go to arbitration, that's when your actuaries come back and your lawyers, and and I would suggest professionals, and not just union reps, go in there and argue our case. Yeah, Frank, you're right. Last time we went to arbitration, we got 11% over 3 years after Wall Street crashed. So you understand what I'm talking about, preparation. It's everything. If they didn't prepare for this, then what they did was they did a disservice to the membership. And they should be held accountable for that. So anyway, I know they're trying to scare us away from things, and I don't want anybody to be afraid of negotiating a contract. This is not something that we should be afraid of. As a matter of fact, what members should be doing is they should be a part of it. And that's also what we were left out. When I was talking about organization, mobilization, information, and preparation, mobilization and organization was our part. And all we had was one rally that said we weren't going to take twos, and then the sticky rally at 2 Broadway that nobody was invited to. So that's not mobilization. That's not organization. That's keeping the members out of it. And we're still out of it. We still don't have a contract yet. Annette, you're welcome. We should all educate each other. Everything we learn, we pass on. Can't rely on one person or just even one Facebook group to put our information out there. Whatever you learn here, please pass it on. It's something that eventually the members will take over this union. I am completely confident that they will, and we are going to one day we're going to take this thing back. Yeah, Kenny, we just talked about that before, right? If why are the reps begging us to vote yes? They're told to. They're paid to. They're paid by us, but actually they see their paychecks coming through Samuelson and Earl Phillips, so that's who they're going to listen to. They're not going to listen to us. I mean, all we have to do is call them on this. And if they put it out there that there's no givebacks, no matter where you look in there, there's some kind of give back. Even the provisions that aren't in there that we wanted to fix, that aren't in there are givebacks. They're still giving back from the last time. The last contract doesn't cancel. New members are still new members, and they're still giving. They're losing tens of thousands of dollars every year. They're for doing the same job as us who have been on this job a while. And we've been down this road in the 90s, and we fixed it. And we find ourselves coming back full circle again, doing the cannibalistic bargaining thing because we refuse to organize and mobilize and get tough. And if anybody doubts that, I hung up on Progressive Action. I could hang it up again. Management put out a letter to the leadership and the membership thanking us for not making any trouble. I mean, what kind of shit is that? We we didn't, it's like, okay, whew, thank you. You made this so easy for us. Come on, it's not supposed to be easy. So anyway, this is like a union bizarro world, isn't it? It's a surreal situation we find ourselves in, where the union is acting like thugs. Only, instead of baseball bats, they use character attacks, but it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Hanging up stuff, calling you sexual predator, calling you scab, all the names I've been called. I've been called anywhere from strike happy to coward. Tell me which kind of coward is strike happy. But whatever suits them at the time, they'll put it out there. Cowardly Lion with my face on it. Toussaint with my face on it. And now I hear they're still going on and on. So there's more and more crap going on. So yeah, drama free. Drama free. That's what the president of the TA called it. So when the newspapers tell you you got a good contract, the management tells you got a good contract, you got to look twice. All right, listen, guys, I have to go. I'd love to stay here and talk to you guys. You guys are great. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in to the take 2 of the video. I'll try not to erase it this time. And, you know, we'll talk soon. Take care.